Okay, today's video we're going to make a beef stew. We're going to start off with a little pre-cut stew meat, some canned vegetables, or fresh or frozen, whichever one you want. I happen to have some green beans that I grew in my garden that I'm going to use, some potatoes, onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper, and tomato sauce. Alright, so we have some water in the pan, and we're about 1/3 full. We're taking cook the stew meat, and while the stew meat is cooking, I'm going to start peeling the potatoes. And we're going to cut the potatoes up. We're going to cut them up into about 1/2-inch pieces. We're going to give them one more rinse just to rinse off some of that starch. I'm going to cook this until the meat is done, and then I'm going to add the tomato sauce, the salt and pepper, and a little garlic and onion, and of course you can put any other spices that you like in it. And then I'm going to put the potatoes in and let them cook. And after all of those have the meat and the potatoes and the spices, all that has had a chance to cook a little, then I will add the vegetables. I haven't put any of the seasonings in yet or any of the vegetables. I like to cook the meat and get it done, but as you can see that when you're cooking meat, you'll get a little foam on the top. See, I've cleaned up the broth. I've taken off all the foam that was across the top. There's just a tad left in it, not much. And it just makes a cleaner looking soup. The foam that's on the top, it's not going to hurt you. It's just not appealing to some people. So now I'm going to add the tomato sauce. I've already cut up a lot of the meat that's in here, because when it comes from the pack, comes out of the package, it's about the equivalent of 3 pieces of meat. And then that gives the illusion that there's actually more meat, because you get a spoonful of meat every time you get a spoonful of soup. If you want your stew to have a really stronger tomato flavor, go ahead and add a second can of the tomato sauce. And that's what I've done to this one right here, because I've actually used a large pan. I went ahead and added a second can of tomato sauce. Now the meat is done, but it still isn't quite tender, so I'm going to let it cook just for a few more moments, and then I'm going to add the potatoes. Okay, while the meat is still cooking a little, I'm going to add a little garlic, and you do this to taste. A little onion salt. Start off with a little, and you can always add more. You don't want to put too much salt in it in the beginning. We can always come back and add more. A little black pepper. Give that a couple minutes to infuse into the juice, and then taste it, and if you need something else, now's the time to add it. You can always add it at the end if you have to as well. So we're going to let that infuse just for a moment, and then we're going to sample the broth and see what it tastes like. Now it's starting to come together pretty good as far as the flavor, so we're going to have the beef flavor infused with the tomato flavor, and we're going to end up with a really hearty beef stew. Okay, I've let it cook down. The meat is nice and tender. I've removed a lot of the fat that's been rendered out of the meat. Now I'm going to add the potatoes. I'm going to cook those till they're almost done, and then I'm going to add the vegetables, because the vegetables won't take very long to cook, and you don't want mushy vegetables, so put them in last. Okay, adding the last of the vegetables here. Give it a little stir to mix it in. Okay, the stew has been cooking for a few minutes. Everything's done. Got all the vegetables in it now. And as you can tell from the size of the pot, for $10 or less, you can have at least 10 servings in this pan. Alright, we have our finished stew here, and as you can see, all of the ingredients are in similar size, so that when you dip your spoon in, that you can get them all on the spoon and have a little of all the flavor together. On a side note here, if you would rather have a Denny Moore type stew instead of a tomato-based stew, leave out the tomato sauce and take and make a flour and water roux and add it to the water instead, and then you will have a Denny Moore type stew as opposed to a tomato-based stew. Thanks for watching my video on how to make homemade stew. I hope you enjoy it, and please share it with your friends. Thank you.